Kathy. So now we have Kathy Crow. Kathy's going to give us our presentation on finding properties in all the right places. And like I said, this is the fun part of the presentation. Kick us off.
Okay, my program is looking for houses in all the right places. You know that song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places? No, we're looking for houses in all the right places. Okay, this is a business, and this is a business that you're building. And from day one, you need to start assembling. Go closer. Okay. You need to start assembling your team, and you need to start brainstorming with like-minded people around you, and that's why we have the group here and meeting people within ourselves. And the first thing I want y'all to do is to go and buy a little spiral notebook. Let's see what you got, Nana. Something like that, or a little one of those cheapy books like that you can buy at the store. I know I buy them by the dozens, and I label them for different things to take notes in, because I'm still a big note writer instead of all this electronic stuff. And I want you to carry it around for the next 30 days. And this is people in the know. Label it, people in the know. I want you to take this notebook with you every single where you go throughout your daily travels. And I want you to start writing down everybody that you come in contact with and record their names, address, phone numbers, and emails. And you can fill in all those details later as you're going. Okay.
Sorry, they can hear better online. Sorry.
All right. And if they have a website, write it down too, but don't get bogged down with all the details. Just write down the person's name and stuff. If you see a foundation company, when you pull up to a red light, write it down if you're in the neighborhood, because obviously they may be going to a job somewhere in the neighborhood, so they know the neighborhood. And a lot of people call to get bids and stuff like that before they move. And these are all the people that you're going to start calling on to refer you business, okay? So I want you to take control, be confident about yourselves, and people want to deal with people that know what they're doing. And so practice and know your basic elements of the real estate transactions and real estate scripts. I can't impress too much on you on knowing real estate scripts that Logan has given y'all here, and practice. Okay. This is something I preach, and lots of little Kathyisms that I do to everybody that I speak to all the time. And it's not what you know, but who you know. That's what I just talked about, that little notebook of really starting to build your sphere of influence up and people that you can go to. The other thing is, real estate is a very lonely business, and you need to team up within yourselves of other people that have a like mind, and meet for breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, something, and have a little relaxation time, but focus your conversation about real estate. And if you live in the southern sector of town and somebody else lives in the east, kind of go different places, because you never know when you have a referral from something on the other end of town, and somebody may know something more or be able to help you out with it. And bring your scripts along. And while you're waiting for your food or just talking or whatever, practice your scripts within each other. It really helps to practice your scripts. And the more you can do that, the better you will be, because you have to have that confidence when you go into these houses. You're going to be up against professional home buyers, and don't you think the people that own HomeBuster franchises or for home buyers services or any of these companies that are out there, the New Western boys, the Net Worth boys, they are out there with the scripts. Okay, stop. I know. Okay. All right. So when you're out there, you need to have a bird dog in a box in your car, stuff that you're always going to need. Now I'm going to go through this real fast, and I'm going to send y'all this presentation I have. Get a plastic box with a lid, a flashlight with extra batteries, measuring tape, pens, highlighter, pad of paper, sticky notes and flags, paper clips, stapler with stapler, stapler remover, Maps-Go, or some sort of way to find your way around. I still use Maps-Go. Tape recorder with batteries and the tapes, or if you're using your phone or whatever it is. Hammer, screwdriver, your utility knife, binoculars, paper towels, hand sanitizer, file folder with blank contracts, file folder with assignments, property valuation sheets, clipboards with prospecting sheets, digital. You need your camera or your phone or whatever you're using, business brochures, insect repellent, Band-Aids, antibiotic ointments, and baby wipes. You're gonna need all that stuff. You can't go home if you're dirty, okay? So you're gonna be prepared. So you're gonna need all this stuff. So that's how you arm yourself and you start getting yourself prepared for this business. Okay, he's asking me to do this in 20 minutes. This is a 4-hour presentation that I did in an hour and a half, and now I'm down to 20 minutes.
That's why we're really, this is more of an
this.
overview, but we do
All
want to give you some nuts and bolts on how do you find some of these properties.
Okay, a distressed property is any property that creates financial and emotional distress for the owner. Distressed property is owners experiencing from distress because of the problems that the house is having or the repairs that need to be dealing with. Okay, so when you go and find out about a property, you have to have the complete address of the property, the tax record of the property, pictures of the property, owner's contact information, and any of the information the owner can give you. The asking price, the loan balance, the outstanding liens, the unpaid taxes, the tenant information, leases, access to property, known problems or repairs that are needed, and seller motivation. How do you get the taxes, right? That would probably want to know, how do you know how much taxes are owed, right? Okay, here's something that you should know for just listing or every property you go out on a listing appointment or whatever. I'm going to teach you. Go to the county record and take the tax identification number, put it in like if you're going to pay the taxes and say pay now, boom, it's going to come up and tell you how much there is owed. And then it's going to say, want to pay now? No, click close the window. Okay? Okay, so at least 3 times per week. If you're, how I used to do it before is like I just go through MLS and find some houses that could be investor deals, and I go out into the field, okay, and look at these houses. I may never do those houses, just I'm out there previewing, but it got me in the neighborhood. And once I'm out in the neighborhood, I come back with 30 houses for every house I'm going to look at. So if I get 3, I'm coming back with 90 houses. And I look for houses that are run down, gutters fallen, high weeds. Right now, high weeds is a good time. You're looking for houses that have, you know, the newspapers or little flyers taped to the doors, stuff like that. Cars that you can see have never moved in the neighborhood. So you're going to write down all these houses. And so for 30 houses per house, you will be surprised how fast when you're driving these streets, whether you're driving, you know, South Dallas or you're driving Deerfield in Plano, you will find houses. Okay, today one of my bird dogs drove in Deerfield and found a house, okay, and sent it to me. So it doesn't matter what kind of price range, you will find vacant houses that look bad. So 3 times a week, go out into the field and look at these houses. And you're going to keep this vacant house list, and you're going to pull the tax records. You're going to enter the property in a database. You're going to put it on a mail out program that is initial call us now postcard program. 4 weeks later, call us now. 2 months later, remember us postcard, and every 3 months, a remember us postcard. And I record the date the postcard sent in my Excel spreadsheet. I find the phone numbers on it, and I put on a list to call. Here's another Kathyism. Every piece of mail is followed up by a phone call, and every phone call is followed up by a piece of mail. Okay, so if I do talk to a homeowner on the phone, I then now send a letter, and I tell them in my conversation on the letter that I'm going to be sending you a letter with my card and summarizing what we talked about today. And that goes out that very day or the next day. So be watching for my letter. Okay. So for sale by owners, most of the times people are for sale by owner because of the condition of the property. They don't want people to show the property and see the property. So that's why they become a for sale by owners. And so there are many, many sites out there that you can check for sale by owners. In the Zillow Make Me Move, or the, you know, there's the Red, what's the thing? Red what?
Redfin?
No.
RedX.
RedX. I use the other one that Mike Ferry had. We use different ones, and Craigslist and stuff like that. The keywords that you use are handyman special when you're looking at this. Fixer upper, investor special, needs work, must sell. And I obtain the addresses. I do a down and dirty CMA. If what they're asking in their ad is pretty close to what I think it's worth, then I think it's a hot lead, and I start going after it. If it's almost full retail or something, next. I don't go after it. So And when I haven't seen the property, I don't use the 70% rule, I use the 60% rule. And I also use around $15 a square foot for repairs. So that's how I do that. And every day we look for FSBOs, and every day it takes about an hour to do that job. Okay. Same with expired listings. I look for anything under 200,000 about a door. And I also look for the ones that say needs work, must sell in the agent's remarks, or anything that's been on the market for 150 days. Maybe the agent didn't want to tell you it needed work, but it does. And I mail a postcard of introduction. I find the phone number. We call them. We do the down and dirty CMA. And if it comes to our criteria, then we're all over it. We are knocking their doors. We are there looking at the property. And that, again, done on a daily basis, 1 hour a day. So motivated sellers, divorce. We get the daily commercial record, and you could subscribe to it. It costs $55, $58 a month with taxes, something like that. And they'll email you every day in your mailbox the Excel spreadsheet, and it'll have all the people that file for divorce. Okay. You sit there and enter every one of them in there and see which one owns houses. Of course, if it has apartments numbers, I just throw all those out. You know, if they live in apartments or addresses I recognize as being apartment complexes, and or PO boxes. And I look in there, and we find out the divorce, and again, we try to locate the people and see if they want to sell their house. No, people that don't have interest in the property, people with lack of experience with repairs, people that don't have time, death. We look at the probate records. The daily commercial record will give you the probate records. We look for people with job relocation. We do landlord issues. You can get all the eviction notices from your JP courts too, and call all the landlords that are evicting people. Again, the facing foreclosures, you get the ROTI reports and the pre-pres off the ROTI reports. And on the real list on the MLS, they have the postings now too on the real list tax records of stuff, and you can search by that also on the tax records on MLS. So there are all kinds of ways to find these things out for you. Also on the daily commercial record, it'll have lawsuits, people that have filed lawsuits, and you look up those people's addresses and find out, because if they have big liens or tax liens, federal tax liens also, because they may have to sell their property to satisfy that, or if they're tax delinquent and they haven't paid their taxes, tax suits being filed on them too. I look for look for those properties too, because if they're not paying their taxes, something's going on, that do that. Then that notebook I've told you to carry around, think about all the people in that, people that attorneys, bail bondsmen, counselors, people at daycare centers know whenever there's going to be a divorce, because obviously they tell the kids can't go one way or the other, that kind of stuff. So talk to all those people to give you referrals too. So those are people that you put in your notebook too, of people that would know these kind of people that do that. So, and you need to tell everybody at church what you do when you go to church. People, when you go to the banks, tell them what you're doing, because a lot of times the people at the banks, people come in and talk about their problems there, that they need extra money. Scout every beauty and barber shop in your territory and leave your cards. Bring in great big candy bars and tape your cards to it, because then they'll have to stack your cards up to get to the candy, stuff like that. And because they know. People at daycare centers, people you meet at stores, and workers at the stores, medical offices, restaurants, people at the schools your children attend, where you exercise, at any place you go on a daily basis. You need to get a couple of divorce attorneys in your pocket. You need a couple criminal attorneys. You need some probate attorneys and bankruptcy attorneys. Get to know those people. Go to different events that you can meet these type people, okay? Find out some CPAs and financial planners, nursing home administrators, bail bondsmen. I have a couple bail bondsmen that give me lots of houses, because they're putting up bail you know, and people put their houses up. Trustees at banks, postmen in the neighborhoods that you're looking at houses are, talk to the postman. Real estate agents that list a lot in those neighborhoods, a lot of times they don't want to list these type of properties, especially some of the upper snooty companies don't do that. Funeral homes, locksmith, trash haulers. Trash haulers are great. When you see the junk man driving through and you see their name on the side of a car, always write, or their truck, write it down, because they always know where stuff is and they'll tell you. Estate sellers, tax preparers, notary. Whenever you see a house that says notary here, you know, and stop your car, knock on their door, give them your cards, that kind of stuff. And you'll see these people in all kinds of neighborhoods that put their sign out and give your cards, because people go there to get all kinds of things notarized and they know all the gossip of what's going on. Foundation companies, roofers, insurance agents, general contractors, neighborhood churches, any of these things that they, you know, places that you know. You're going to have to get some direct mail marketing pieces, and that's a whole nother long session about what to do with that. And I'm sure Jeremy can help you with all your postcard needs and stuff like that. I find the owners by going and knocking on neighbors' doors and knocking on doors is a big way to find people. And people will tell you gossip and tell you who moved where they did, stuff like that. You ask the postman, they call the water department. The water department knows where the bills are going to. Search the deed records and see if there's anything else that matches in your deed records. Go to the tax offices themselves and look, those are public computers. There may be green screen computers, but they're public computers, and look in the notes, and they'll say that Mary Jones's mother is now living with her, and send the bill now to Mary Jones, but they don't change it on the record because the phone rang and they didn't, but they wrote it on the notes and they're mailing the records there to them. Leave notes on the door, you know, be nice and don't tape it on a nice wood door that the tape's going to take it out, but be nice and leave a note somewhere. Don't put anything in a mailbox because that belongs to the feds. That because people come by and check there. Use the internet to find people. We Google people, we use the internet, we use AT&T Anywho directory, 411-555-1212, US Home Search, whitepages.com, Zaba Search. There's plenty of places to find people. We're always finding people. There's a program you can buy. We have it. It's a little expensive. It's called Net Detective. Like $79 a month though, and you put your name in, put Kathy Crow in, and anytime something on the internet will say Kathy Crow, it's going to come up and do it. So like if the obituary would come up with my name on it, then we know where they're at, you know. And so if you can't find people, you know, and you kind of like put all the information that you know about them, and so if anything does get posted, then you'll be notified. Publicrecords.com is another good one. That's where you can find, if you have a license plate of a car that's in the driveway, put it in there. Maybe they may have changed other information that'll track through there. So it kind of leads you one thing to another, to another, to another on it.
So it sounds like you kind of have to be an investigator.
Yeah, you're a detective. It's fun. That's what I like.
And good realtors are investigators. You're investigating your buyer's needs or your seller's needs. In this case, prospecting for seller's needs.
Yeah. So here's ways to find the motivated. Place an ad in the newspaper, you know, Juanita Couch, the big ones in town, they have ads running every day in newspapers. Use the Thrifty Nickel, use Green Sheet, use places like that. Get your bandit signs, banditsigns.com. You can put signs out, but only do it on the weekends. Drive neighborhoods looking for vacant houses and FSBOs. Call your FSBO ads. Search MLS for the investor properties and expired listings. Landlords evictions. Landlords that have properties to rent that, you know, have for rent signs, maybe they don't want to do it. The pre-foreclosures, the REOs direct, tax sales, estate sales, property with building code violations. Go to your cities and get the building code violations. I sold a house here in University Street last year or 2 years ago. Hudson got it, that we got off of University Park's building code violations. Yeah, and so that's how that works. Condemned properties, fire damage properties. The fire department has a list of all of those. Out-of-town owners, network with professionals, you know, that we've already talked about. Pool service people, lawn care companies, carpet cleaners, those are all goods too. hire some kid, you know, I have 5 or 6 bird dogs out there in the streets always doing this. Part-time kids going to school, give them something to do, you know, to go out and help you find properties and then, you know, pay them. Meet other wholesalers, you know, that are out there trying to do properties. Get your network of that. Get your business cards distributed everywhere, okay? Business cards are the cheapest investment you can make, and hand out your business cards everywhere you go all the time.
And the message that you always need to carry, needs to be on the tip of your lips, is I have buyers, I have cash buyers for your property, depending on what neighborhoods you're in. You know, if you're in University Park, that's not going to work. But if you're in an entry-level neighborhood, it's a little different, or a distressed situation. So be cognizant of where you are, but you always have a buyer with you.
Right. So anyway, I'm going to send y'all the rest of this presentation. It'll have lots of I'm just going to go over the formula. When you find a house, your formula should always be after repaired value times 65%. I don't do 70%. I do 65% because I got to get paid. The investor's going to pay 70%. Yes, but how are we going to get paid if they're paying 70%? You're buying it for 70%. Okay, you got to factor us in there. So at least 5%. So is the maximum loan amount that these hard money lenders will pay. And a hard money lender, I guarantee you, your cash buyer is going to be a hard money loan. They're all that, and that's a sophisticated buyer. The people that tell you that they're getting a hard money loan, they're not sophisticated buyers. All hard money is cash, or private money lending is cash deals. Then you take your maximum loan amounts, your 65% minus your repairs, minus your closing cost. And that is your maximum allowable offer on your property. And I do my repairs $10 to $15 a square foot, you know, down and dirty. I make sure my closing costs are going to be a minimum of $1,500. Buyer will pay all closing costs, including title policy. I know that's not the same in the real world of real estate, but in our world it is. And, you know, and then you have to put what you want to make, factor in what you want to make. So I also have a sheet here that'll tell you all the repairs and everything you're going to do. And then to get referrals down the line, always send everybody thank you notes and that was involved in the transactions, and just sold postcards to your neighborhoods that you just participated in the sale, or you just sold to at least, you know, 200 houses around. And then also the thank you notes from the lenders to everybody around, so that they remember you, that you're in the business, and that, you know, thank you for this transaction, and we hope that it was good for you and everything. And keep these people on a follow-up program that you did we're the sellers of the deal, because you never know when somebody else in their family or their friends may need you.
Great.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, so I want to give you kind of a recap of a few nuggets that I heard in there. And yes, questions.
Okay, so I drove by a burn down, 2 burn downs. What do you do when you see burn downs? Like, how do you, like, what's the next step?
We'll find the owners, and they're going to probably have a insurance claim. They're going to get the money, and you're just buying the dirt.
I think the simplest version
Depends on
of
how bad it's burned
all of this training, one of the things that's real fundamental that has to be kept top of mind is, just like any seller, contacting that seller and being in touch with them, and just going to the tax records and sending them a letter that they're going to respond to. So what's your call to action? You have a buyer, and your buyer is willing to pay more than any other buyer. So it may be an inflated price, but it would be the top of the market, the most that could be paid for that property. What's going to make them call you back in response to your letter or your postcard or your call to action on that burnout? So a lot of these Kathy and I were preparing for this last night, and she said 70% of the properties that she identifies as wholesale properties are tenant occupied, which means the owner does not live there. So that's a huge amount of business for absentee owners. So absentee owners is when you're going through the tax records, you can scrub through RealList for free all the properties that are non-owner occupied. Those are absentee owners. So that's 70% of her business. So that's real important to keep in mind. A few other nuggets that I heard is, you know, the fundamentals of what causes a distress situation: loss of job, divorce, death, divorce and death. So that's
Sickness,
where,
illness,
yeah, sickness, illness. So that's where, you know, put your thinking cap on and really investigate and think, okay, well, what about doctor physician referrals or what about the pre-foreclosure list, the Linda Smith, I'd like to thank Linda for being here. She just stepped out, but Linda's with Nancy Carroll's title company, and she's our dedicated closer now. And Nancy, she subscribes to that pre-foreclosure list. So make sure that you use that, door knock those. That's what I did when I first came to Dallas. I would door knock those on a Saturday morning. The first Saturday when that list came out, I would start at 8 a.m. and I would do it religiously every month from 8 until 11 o'clock that first Saturday morning. And I would generally make contact about 30% of the time. And it was amazing how many of those turned into business, or they refer, because distressed sellers know other distressed sellers. They knew of other people that were in bad situations. So it's kind of a depressing business, but if you don't have a lot of business, it's a way to drum up business that's not, if you're not doing an open house on that Saturday morning.
I can do an hour class on how to do that, on the foreclosures and the scripts and the letters and what you need to say and how you do it, because it's very important that you don't have sympathy for these people, but be empathetic, and the way you present yourself will gain you entry into a relationship with them, while a lot of people go there and people are put off by them. So I have mastered a way to be able to gain entry, and I can share that on another presentation.
Great. So thank you for attending. We'll wrap this up. And the next module, I'm going to try to keep it really short, 20 minutes or less. And we're going to go over some of the scripts and some of the objection handling on the with buyer investors. And Amanda and I were talking before we came in. She's had some challenges on getting offers accepted. That's another thing that we're going to talk about, getting your investors' offers accepted, how to coach your investor, and then also talk about seller objections when you're at that listing appointment, or you're at the appointment looking at that property, how to get them to sign your listing agreement. Okay, thank you.